have been covered up by these police departments and by the BCA. Our community
Hi,
has
y'all.
come together today.
We at the BCA headquarters on the east side of St. Paul. I know I was just a little late, but here go live. Excuse the car noises in back.
Enough is enough. They go from editing videos to now straight up lying and telling us there is no video in Winston Smith's case. Winston Smith was murdered in one of the most privileged areas in Minnesota, uptown Minnesota, the uptown area. There is no way that there was no camera from one of the local businesses. We know in the case of Justin Tigan, who was brutally beat to death in 2009 and thrown inside of a trash dumpster, that the video for that murder was edited. We know for Isaac Aiden that the videos in that murder was edited. We know for Kobe Heisler and for all of these other murders that these videos are edited, destroyed, or we are told that they never exist. Well, we will not sit back and watch cover-up in our faces any longer. Our families are out here hurting and traumatized, and we will not let it be swept under the rug. They have swept enough murders under the rug, and enough is enough. Enough is enough. So we are standing here in solidarity as a community, crying out for help, crying out for change, and letting the BCA, who is a part of many murders and many cover-ups, Drew Evans is a part of many murders and many cover-ups. We want the truth, and we want it now. We deserve it now. As a hurting community, we deserve the truth. As the families that are out here hurting from the previous murders, re-traumatizing us over and over and over again. Stop covering up the murders, BCA. We will not stand for it. We will not stand for it. Enough is enough. I call forward the president of the Minnesota Justice Coalition, Jonathan McCall.
Hello, my name is Jonathan McCall. I'm president of the Minnesota Justice Coalition. We are part of a collective of organizations that work with the families and community to draft and advance legislation and other policies that happen in St. Paul and Washington, D.C. Law enforcement and other enforcement agencies continue to play cloak and dagger games with the people and the family. The family and community have questions about who killed Winston Smith, as well as the circumstances around his death. We shouldn't have to wait until the city is burning, businesses are destroyed, community resources are exhausted for law enforcement to do the right thing by the family and the people. It is important that we have transparency and accountability, not a cover-up or a botched investigation to cover for the sheriffs who killed Winston Smith. Further, the accounts of the killer cops have been refuted by eyewitness testimony, and the BCA has failed to offer a response. Furthermore, we have been misled by law enforcement stating that Winston employed a weapon, but the coroner did not find any residue on his hands. Law enforcement has released a false narrative about Winston's criminal history and or alleged
mainstream
crimes.
media as well.
What they haven't released is any body cam, dash cam, or other footage or evidence justifying their actions. It doesn't matter about the victim's past. What matters is we support the value of human life and the rule of law. In this country, you are innocent until proven guilty, and to try to defame someone who can't defend himself is pusillanimous.
Yes.
We also question these task forces that produce cowboy cops that make up their own rules and circumvent best practices like wearing body cameras, lack proper oversight, and display patterns and practices that terrorize and does not protect and serve, such as the disbanded gang task force here in Minnesota. That was also a joint partnership with other law enforcement agencies similar to the task force and the one who killed Gilad Eve. We know your blueprint: murder, lies, install, attack the reputation of the victim, cover up.
That was Bales.
We're done with that. We are tired of police that hide behind the slogan of protect and serve while only protecting and serving themselves. For the law enforcement community who think that we are going back to the status quo, we are not going back, we are going forward. And transparency and accountability is paramount to that process. Stop the cover-up.
The future mayor of Minneapolis, hopefully. If you're a Minneapolis resident, vote for this guy.
Even in a case as small as Travis's, I experienced the lies and cover-ups that the police forces are willing to do on even the smallest of things. Lying to get entrance to my house when they had no right to be there after murdering my friend on my front lawn. There are little things, checks and balances that have gone unchecked. A balance of power that is way off. Police are constantly doing things, and you as media have gobbled it up. When is investigative reporting going to become a thing again? Stop taking the morsels and crumbs that have been fed to you by the police, the lies, the misgivings, and all of that. You have to continually come back and apologize for. Stop selling the narrative until you've done your own reporting. I want to speak to the quote-unquote patriots of the world and one thing that speaking up for I'd like to remind you that we have these checks and balances in this state to keep out of control police officers, out of control judicial systems, out of control executive orders. Police murder people and refuse their opportunity in front of the judge. They are removing one of those checks and balances. We as a people are obligated to speak for that life that can no longer speak for itself. We are obligated to make sure that that check goes balanced. We stand here for the family of Winston in solidarity, have and always will, with every family, with every person stolen. Mayor Fry, you have had time and time and time again to stand with your community, to stand with your community members, empower and hide. Council people, you act as though you do not have the freedom of speech to stand up and say, no, this will not happen in my city. No, I will not stand in my seat of position, my seat of power, and allow it to go unspoken for. Shame on you. Fry, I won't even speak to you as mayor. I speak to you as goodbye, sir.
Email.
First off, I want to make it clear that one of the things we want to demand for is that the investigation. That's the only way we can get energy and get justice in this case. And I have to say to you all, I feel like this shooting was an act of retribution on the cops. It felt like it was a bullying effort. It was never to show that because the fear is
I agree with him. Because he was steady making these videos. Reminds me of it much my ass.
And so it's important to know that while the PCA is saying that he had a gun, he fired a gun, witness has come forward, your lawyers now twice and said that she never saw a gun,
Yeah.
never had a gun, he never fired a gun. And while he was trying to Facebook Live, police opened up on him. We believe personally. We don't believe the PCA. And by the way, the PCA has shown itself to be incompetent. If you paid attention to the George Floyd trial, you'll see the PCA did a lot of incompetent to stop the murder activities. They did. And now the Hennepin County attorney is talking about reopening the case of Terrence Franklin, another police killing, which they came up with a story that made no sense to begin with.
I remember when I heard about that, I was like, that was bullshit.
So it's time that we stop sending cases to the BCA and the governor appointed an independent panel. That's what we're going to make. After hearing also complain about the fact that Winston Smith's name was scandalized. First he was called a murder suspect.
Facts.
Then people tried to make him seem like a bad guy because he was run from the police. Then the BCA said that he fired at him, and they weren't even clear. They can't even get their story right.
Right.
Every time they tell a story, it's different. So we demand again that the government appoint independent
That shit sickened me.
independent investigation because we can't believe what the BCA said. We believe the witness, and we believe that despite all the talk about
A man I knew was dead because of their bullshit. And then they want to talk bad on his name.
We won't move forward in this country until we actually have police accountability. So the governors have whatever it takes, intestinal fortitude to say, okay, that's fair. Let me get the police out of police investigation. And let me
Excuse me, brother.
do this independently. Because at this point, for all practical purposes, what we saw, what happened to Winston Smith, is he was murdered by the police. That's not hyperbole. We have no other evidence. We have no reason to believe the BCA. So we are standing up demanding the governor called the murder of Winston Smith and the law. Thank you.
Yeah, that's you, Michael.
Prosperity Avenue. It's very ironic. We're talking about Winston Smith as
Right.
in all honesty, I just ask for transparency, clarity in the story. I feel like it starts with you. I feel like the Pioneer Press should try to retract these things, to be honest. If you continue to demonize black men in Minneapolis and in St. Paul, I stand frustrated and concerned. There's a lot of solid men out here that are doing quality things. You ever have Winston, any of us like comedy, you can see what kind of individual, what kind of character in that moment. So I repeat, we stand on Prosperity Avenue. Nothing's really changed. Black men to prosper in the state of Minnesota, the city of Minneapolis, the city of St. Paul. So please consider this. Our frustration of being right now, misunderstanding about a lot of the man that is Winston Smith and how he is being demonized in the city of Minneapolis. So yes, I'm going to continue to say this. We ask for retraction statement. Please shine that man's light in the correct way, because he deserves better.
We will call for one more speaker, Brandon Tony, and
That guy seemed to. Oh, there's Brandon.
When it comes to the assassination and murder of Winston Smith, obviously you hear things from the media, you hear things from the law enforcement departments that were responsible for his death. But if you look at other cases in the state, George Floyd, the first thing they said that it was a medical incident.
Yep.
Right? There are so many cases where the first story that comes out isn't the truth. So why us as a community that is hurting, we have no choice but to assume that they're lying to us. That's what we do.
That's right.
Time again, until they can bring forward video, until they can bring forward conclusive evidence.
Because they were able to get away with it in the past.
They're trying to paint, which it never does. Then maybe we'll start to believe them. However, in a case like this, why is there no video evidence?
Exactly.
At first they tried to say, well, the marshals, they're not allowed to. And that was what rescinded in 2019. And they were supposed to be implementing that. However, Mona Doman was taking her time and didn't get that implemented in Outlet. And we had, what, the Hennepin County, Ramsey County sheriffs that were a part of this task force. After they do something wrong, then they draw out of that task force and say, yeah, that probably isn't the best thing for us to be doing.
Right.
Why does it take an assassination,
Don't make sense.
a murder, loss of life, to then learn maybe that's not the best thing that we should be doing?
Yep.
Why does it take an incident where there were so many things
Shit
wrong with
sickens
it
me.
until they start realizing, yeah, we need to do better, more transparency, and holding ourselves accountable because we don't want to get into another situation like that? Is it not their job to make sure that they're prepared?
They don't have common
There are
sense.
any possibilities of situations that they could be involved in, they need to be able to be transparent and be accountable. Not realize that after the fact, oh, we didn't think about that one. Well, what are you thinking about? Why are you not prepared for instances like this? If you believe that you are right in all the policing and all of the work that you're doing, then it should be, we should be able to see everything you do. We should be able to hear everything you say. If
Say
you
that.
say you're protecting and serving the community, why is the community not let in on these decisions?
Exactly.
Why do we have cowboy cops in a task force that apparently nobody knows about, roaming the streets, looking for one person who's a murder
we
suspect?
pay taxes. That's their
Gets a tip that
salaries.
There's another person they're potentially looking for some warrant, and then they swarm him and 8 undercover cops, guns drawn, undercover cars.
This shit sickens me.
After they saw him on like a Snapchat or Instagram story after a date. If your job, even in the Galal case, if your job was to do a gun sting and you thought to pull up at a gas station in the middle of the day, guns drawn, undercover cars, guns out the window, and you thought that that was going to stop the sale of an illegal firearm, you really need to reprocess how you're going about these actions.
I don't know what goes
If
through
you
some of
thought
these
that you were going
so-called
to
police officers' brains.
you thought you potentially have a gun, or you thought was out
Definitely
on the
ain't
road,
common sense.
and you thought swarming you with 8 undercover cars, guns drawn, was going to do your job that day, I have to question what type of training, what type of thought process went into that plan.
Definitely not common sense.
If you think about a case like Isaac Aiden, where they have almost 100 police officers.
Yeah, I missed that the other
surrounding
day
this man
down at
for what, 4 hours, and then they come up with a tactical team of flashbangs and less than lethals to try to get him to move. But after he moved, people weren't let in on that plan, and then they shot him because he moved. I have to question what goes on in your operations. What are y'all doing when you come up with these plans? If your job is to apprehend a criminal, that's what you want to call it, how does that lead to the death of an individual?
Exactly.
If your job is to apprehend someone you believe
not
to be a
supposed to be
criminal, and it ends in
judge,
death,
jury, and executioner.
you did not do your job. That's the bottom line.
That's the
You
court's
did
job,
do
not
your
theirs.
job. Therefore, you need to be held accountable for that. And that's what we want. That's what we need to see. The BCA is very good at covering up things. You cannot have cops investigating cops. You cannot have cops investigating cops because they are not on our side. They are on the side of law enforcement.
Blue code.
We demand transparency, accountability, and
That's what they.
have us in on everything that goes on. We need private investigators. If we're gonna go, it has to be somebody
Completely
else. Well, then make sure it's
independent.
actually somebody else. These are the same people. These people have ties to the U.S. Marshals, to Minneapolis Police Department. They have ties to all of those organizations, and you think that they're going to hold the other person accountable? That just doesn't make sense in any rational thinking person's mind, hopefully. And if it does make sense to you, I'd love to have a sit-down conversation with you so I can explain to you why you're wrong.
Exactly.
But we need to get systems in place where these things don't continually happen. We need to get systems in place, procedures in place that already assume the worst things that could happen so that they're not backtracking and saying, oh, we got to do better next time. But how many next times does it take until there are no more next times? Until there are no more black bodies 6 feet under killed at the hands of law enforcement? And that's what we're going to keep being out here demanding answers for and pushing for, is so that me, other black men, black women, black non-binary folks aren't killed at the hands of law enforcement, and then they'll say, oh, we'll do better next time. Simply unacceptable.
Tell them.
I want to say, as someone that lost Justin Tigan
Yep.
They twist the stories. If they were telling the truth about Winston's murder, everything would be the same. There would be no reason to switch up their narratives over and over and
That
over
is
again
correct.
as they did already. The witness in the car would have the same story as the law enforcement. Why does the witness have a different story than the BCA and everybody else? The person that was sitting right next to Winston, the person that was sitting right next to Winston when he was executed has a different story than the BCA and the other law enforcement. If they knew, if the law enforcement knew that they were going to swarm down on this man that day to cover themselves, why would they not have any video cameras on themselves or on their vehicles if they were going to go get this murder suspect that they were talking about?
Yes.
The proof is in the pudding. We know what's going on. This man was executed, and we're in the middle of a cover-up right in front of our eyes. The BCA is not incompetent. The BCA knows exactly what they're doing. The BCA is strategic at what they're doing. They've been doing it for years. They've been covering up murders for years. I knew when they murdered Justin Tigan and covered up my son's father's murder, and they talked to me, they sat outside my home, they followed me. I knew they had done it to other people before, and I knew that it was going to continue. And what we see with all these other murders that have happened is the continuance that I knew would happen because they covered up the murder of Justin Tigan too strategically. So I knew that they were going to continue to cover up murders. And now here we are, 12 years later, with God knows how many more murders, how many more bodies. We're standing here after they've covered up many more murders. The same way they altered my son's father video is the same way they altered the Laif video. So we couldn't see. They blurred it out, so we couldn't see what happened. The same way with Isaac Hayden. They blurred out the video, so we couldn't see what really happened. Now they're at the point that they're not even blurring it out. They're just saying it doesn't even exist. We know the truth. We know what's going on. And enough
They
is
just
enough.
hiding it, that's all.
We have a duty as human beings to fight for what's right. We have a duty as people with hearts and minds and families and consciences to do what's right. And as fight for other human beings. We have a duty to fight
for our freedom. We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to fight for our freedom.
We have a duty to win.
We have a duty to win.
We must love and support one another.
We must love and support one another.
We have
Nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to
Lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Thank you. This will conclude our press conference. Do you guys have any questions? Thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Okay. This J-Mo with Streets Advocate presentation. Everybody have an uplifting day.